Bueno, buenos días a todos. Muchas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros en la última sesión del taller de empatía en línea, ¿a quién le importa? Con Mireille, ¿no? Y pues estamos muy contentos, no porque acabe el taller, sino porque, porque han estado muy activos, ha habido participaciones muy interesantes y pues de todo eso les va a estar platicando en un momentito Mireille. Pero la verdad es que estamos muy contentos con lo que se ha logrado. Creo que los objetivos se han alcanzado, las expectativas, ¿no? Y, y sentimos, al menos nos lo han hecho sentir un poco, que también están contentos y que también han disfrutado el taller, ¿no? Entonces, pues bueno, vamos a darle la palabra a Mireille para poder continuar.
Buenos días, hola, good morning. It's Friday. It's Friday.
And the beginning of a long weekend.
Why is Monday?
It's our Constitution Day on the 5th, but because it is, there are certain official days that they move the festivity to Monday. So even though it's February the 5th, the day we celebrate our Constitution Day, the day that we do not work is on Monday.
Well, you know, because I speak a little bit of Spanish, sometimes I become a source of reference for tourists. So I was in a line to visit the Frida Museum, and a gentleman from the States was asking me, we were talking about the sound, you know, like the crackers and the firework type of sounds. And someone had explained to me that it has to do with Catholic religion, where every kind of neighborhood celebrates its patron. And I'm Catholic, so I understand that there are many patron. Do you say patron? Yeah, patrones. So I know that there's just one for about every day. So when the tourists ask me, what is this sound? Oh, I said they're celebrating a patron. And you know which one it is? It's Santa Mireille. He said, big eyes. So this is what happens when someone like me, with a wicked sense of humor, has the slightest advantage. You never know how I will use it.
So which day was it? Was it on Sunday? Just to celebrate and to send you greetings on that day?
Yeah, that's right. Actually, it was a Sunday, which made it even more special. Because Sunday, Santa Mireille. Well, welcome today. I do not want this to end. And in fact, I almost feel like we're just getting into the best part of it. This morning, I was almost late because I was staying on top of the latest contributions to our online portion of the workshop. And it was a compelling story. Like, I got into it as if I was reading a novel, and I lost track of time completely. So I do not wish for this to end, but it has to. So I'm going to do my best today to bring it back to a full circle. And today will be, again, different from the other Wednesday and Monday. Today is more about discussing. So if you can have any contribution, this is the day to do so. And also to summarize a little bit our process in those 3 days. And also, of course, visit that novel, have a look at what we created as a group. So the next thing, so the logistic, I'll need you just a little bit, Larissa, just so that we're clear about the logistic of the workshop. My part, we were discussing, is I will keep the online portion open until next Friday. you have noticed that all the resources are in one area. So anything you're interested in, you'll have all this time to download it. And if you have additional thought that you want to add to your contribution, next Friday is the time you have. Now, Larissa, could you explain your expectations for the workshop and the recognition of it?
Yes, well, I'm going to say it now in Spanish. Bueno, como les estaba comentando ahorita, Mireille, va a continuar abierta la plataforma hasta el siguiente viernes para que puedan enriquecer sus participaciones si quieren agregar algo más. Pero sí necesitamos cerrar también para poder hacer las constancias de participación, ¿no? Entonces, no es una calificación, como ustedes habrán notado, no es que se esté calificando las participaciones ni nada, pero sí el haber asistido y el haber participado. Y entonces tenemos en ese sentido que cerrar para poder generar la lista y generar las constancias, ¿no? Esto se lleva un poquito de tiempo, no va a estar rápido, pero nosotros tenemos los correos de ustedes y en cuanto tengamos las constancias, se los notificamos. Aquellos de ustedes que están lejos y que no pueden venir a la UNAM, se los escaneamos y se los mandamos. Quienes puedan venir, quieran venir y quieran tenerlo en físico, aquí estarían las constancias. También en el transcurso de la semana, yo creo que a principios de la siguiente semana, este fin de semana, estaremos habilitando un cuestionario de satisfacción y de evaluación del taller para que también, por favor, nos hagan el favor de llenarlo y de darnos sus comentarios al respecto. Entonces, creo que es eso.
Muy bien. Muy bien. Hello, hi, good morning. So let's go into, so good. And how is it looking online? Do we have people quite?
Yes, we have 16 people online.
16 people, very good.
Antonio is telling you that you will miss the Candelaria's Day. Do you know what that is?
His name?
No, no. No, his name is Antonio. No, Candelaria's Day is February 2nd.
I think I know. It's the Super Bowl.
No, no. Also.
Okay, not the Super Bowl.
No. On January 6th, we have this special bread for Dia de Reyes.
Oh.
And when you get a slide.
C'est les rois mages. In French, rois mages.
The
three kings.
The three kings. So we have this special bread. And when you have your slice, and if it happens that you have a Jesus baby there.
Oh, yes.
Then on February 2nd, you have to buy tamales for all the persons that were tamales.
Oh.
So today, I would say that today it will begin to, you will see a lot of places very crowded because they are selling tamales.
Oh, I want to try tamales.
Yes.
Can I eat it immediately?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sure. I will take you to some tamales. And that is what I was telling Antonio, that we will make in advance our Candelaria's Day.
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay. But now we're back to the workshop.
Actually, I want to talking about making a connection between the workshop and the Super Bowl. I don't know how it's going to be, but you know that during the Super Bowl there is incredible amount of money that is spent on advertisement during the Super Bowl. And one of the things that I've been noticing in terms of empathy is that it is the concept is transferring over in corporations. We talked about this on Wednesday. And sometimes you can see it in their publicity. more and more. So when they're trying to sell us something, they're trying to use that, well, this is not new. They've always used our emotion string. But more and more, you will notice a little bit a shift where they're positioning a little bit their ads as if they were in your shoes. So that will be, actually, I will be watching this from a distance to see if there is any example.
I actually heard that for this Super Bowl, because it is taking place in Miami, there's a big Latin American community there. So they are doing a lot of things around Latin American culture. No, and well, even the show in the middle of the game will be Shakira and Lopez, J. Lopez, but they are Latin Americans, so they are trying to have a lot of stands within the city and around the stadium in order to make empathy with all this community.
Mm-hmm. To not ignore that they are here. The first step of empathy is, I see you. I'm aware of you. So that's a pretty good start.
Yes. See, Super Bowl has something to do.
I see. It's all connected if we look hard enough. So today, day 3, so it's a lot about the reflection about the workshop, but mostly the activities. And we'll talk about the future. Now what? Now what? Where can we take it? And of course, to get an evaluation for the workshop, which I don't think, did you mention the evaluation?
Yes,
you did in Spanish.
Send the survey in order to have their comments and their evaluation. We're not evaluating them, but they are evaluating us.
How do you call it? I just missed the word in Spanish.
Cuestionario.
Oh, cuestionario. Okay, I get it. Cuestionario. All right, so our online, yes. I didn't mean it to be that order. This is what I wanted. So just as I did on Wednesday, I like to go and to revisit a little bit what we covered on the second day. It was all about strategies. So we talk about stating the purpose and the intention. We talked about establishing inclusion. We talked about developing a positive outlook. We talked about increasing the meaning. We talked about validating individual contributions. So we spent quite a bit of time creating a discussion around these strategies and how they do or do not apply to your everyday work. We also revisited a little bit the context of online teaching about the declarative identity, but what it does within the teaching, where the flexibility of time for online and space allow just that is a good context for autonomy and reflection. And we talked about the possibility for excellent interaction between learners and between learners and teachers. And we said that when we have a good quality of interaction, and I would add the word authentic. So when we have a good, authentic level of quality for interaction, it can be a source of motivation, mutual support, critical thinking, and synthetic approach. Maybe I do want to say a word about authentic. I find that particularly our young students, they will detect a lack of authenticity miles away. So if we engage into being empathetic, we have to, in English we say walk the talk. So we have to, is there an expression similar? Is you have to do as you say you will do. So the authenticity is key. Without authenticity, all of it will backfire, and you will write to me and you'll say, it didn't work.
We would say, preach with the example.
Preach by example.
By example, yeah. Predicar con el ejemplo.
Predicar con el ejemplo. Así. We talked about in terms of strategy, or in terms of approach, the reflexive approach, which gives us a time to step away from the situation and investigate, observe, analyze, reconceptualize, which is a new perspective, possibly, or reinforce the perspective you had at first, and then the response that we will craft to the situation. And then we talked a lot about the exact tools, which are the things that you all know. Nothing of it is new. The frequent exchanges, real communication, as if it's a conversation. We talked about clear and fast feedback. We talked about explaining and motivating, answering every question, using open questions, and developing a tone. We talked about tones in our writing communication, and we talked about assistance from institutional resources and protocol. So we talked about quite a bit.
Yes.
And so what I would like to add to this, so what we'll do today is I'm going to add a little bit to this context, but some of it will be a discussion, so we'll turn off the PowerPoint so that we can focus away from the written words. So the true test of empathy comes during hard time. So we talked about establishing a safety net, so that if there is anything that comes up from your students or from yourself, you have established an inclusion, and you have established meaning, and you have established the opening that you will be receptive to the crisis. So hard time. And I think this is why when I was reading all the comments and the contribution online, that it felt like a novel, because it felt like, and I'll come back, is that it felt like when the hard times came, it was like the stress in a good story. You know, you get to know about your characters, and then suddenly something terrible happens, and you don't know how it's going to be resolved. And honestly, some of your trigger events online are quite breathtaking. It's like, how is she? They're fictitious. They're not supposed to be fictitious, but it's like, how is she going to overcome this? So those trigger events is clearly the hard times that we were talking about. And again, so the conversation about difficult topic often comes hand in hand with those hard times. And how can we fuel a sense of empathy in the face of tragedy or in distress? Sometimes that would justify us creating that academic armor because it's so big. But I could see by the replies.
Si puede cerrar su micrófono, por favor.
It sounds like the puma, you know, you know the one?
Sí.
Is it a puma?
Okay. A puma, ajá.
Do you know the whistle that they sell at Teotihuacan that sounds like a puma?
Un favorzote, creo que Adriana, ¿tienes abierto tu micrófono? Ya, a ver, pero no eres tú. Déjame ver. Alma León.
I would never buy that whistle. This is incredible to me because
deja ver si lo puedo hacer, Alma,
desde acá. Are a real thing where I live. They are roaming around our houses. It's not funny.
Debes de tener un micrófono chiquito en En la
We
parte,
have
en la
built
esquina
houses
inferior del lado
more and more
izquierdo,
in
si
their
tienes la
natural
computadora de
habitat,
frente, debe de haber un
and
microfonito
cougars roam
y con ese
in
lo puedes apagar.
our ravines and things. So
Sí, lo que pasa es que salió tantito nuestro administrador y él no lo puede apagar. Ya quedó, Alma. Gracias. Listo. Now it's ready.
we're good. Good. I can relax.
Yes.
We have, I was just saying that I would not buy that whistle because it sounds like too much like a real cougar. And cougar are a real threat where I live. So there are two predators where I live. Is the cougars and the bears, two kinds of bears, the grizzlies and the black bears. And they're a reality. And no one would find this funny.
I can imagine.
Here I can see it's funny,
Yes.
you know, in the elevator or using it in a place that's not the,
In the middle of the night.
We're good? Okay, so again, as part of a summary of the second day, one thing I want to share is this idea that it's about how we treat others. But if we treat others like we want to be treated, then our frame of reference is ourselves. So what we need to do when we build an empathetic culture is to treat others as they want to be treated. And the minute that we think like that, it forces us to see things from their perspective and choose the right course of action. So I don't know if it's because it comes from the religious belief, treat the other the way you'd like to be treated. There's nothing wrong with that, but it is based on your own frame of reference, your own value system of how you want to be treated. So if you need to have a mantra or a sentence that puts you into a frame of empathy, remind yourself this one: treat others as you would like to be treated, and immediately you'll be moving in their direction. It kind of forces you. How would you say it in Spanish?
Trata a los demás como quieren que los traten.
Que los traten.
¿No? Because, as you said, it is very common to use the opposite. Trata a las personas como te gustaría a ti que te trataran, ¿no? Pero ahora es como te gustaría, como les gustaría a ellos que los trataran.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The minute we think that way, we open the possibility of a different perspective. Immediately, even though it's probably a great start, a great anchor, I will treat the others the way I'd like to be treated, not bad. But the next step, we're talking today about going the next step, going further, that would be a part of the next step. So then, yeah. So I would like to take us back to that statement. And if you wouldn't mind opening the some of the answers that we had. My goal is not so much to come to a consensus. It's not so easy. It probably would take a few more hours if we try to establish a common sentence that we all agree about what do our students want or need. I have adapted the one that I presented you on Wednesday with the conversation we've had, but there's been even more comments online. So I'd like us to spend just another 10, 15 minutes to see if we can take this a little bit further.
Yes, I just want to see if Marco is there, because we need to share my screen, and in that sense, we need to stop sharing your screen, and he's managing your screen. But I think he's not there. Marco, ¿estás por allá? No. Maybe.
It's okay.
Do you want to try opening?
Oh, I'll do
in
on
that
mine,
computer.
Possibly,
yes?
yeah. Mm-hmm. So before I look, then I'm just going to reread it. So I mentioned about turning it around. So we said our online university students consist of people who want to perform and complete a course as part of a diploma that will allow them to enter the reality of a profession. Remember, we talked about the realness of it? And then we said that our students are people who want to learn about a topic with ease and engagement.
Excuse me, Leticia Baez, un favorzote, si pudieras cerrar tu micrófono. Eso, muchas gracias.
We have a favor, Marcos.
Necesitamos dejar de compartir su pantalla para que yo pueda compartir desde esta computadora. Gracias.
And then we discussed the fact that our students don't always know the topic, that they might sign up to a program, but they might be having some surprises about some of the topics. And I read online that sometimes our students don't know if it is even a career they choose. They're lost a little bit, as if, is this right for me? So to learn about a topic with ease and engagement might not be complete, because they might not even know if this topic is the topic they want to learn about. We also talked about on Wednesday the idea that sometimes if they could go by without learning anything, they might be happy to do so. So we talked about the dark side of the profile. So once more, the idea of getting a general profile is the idea of going wide and then narrow. So what are we?
We're waiting for content to be shown on the screen.
Is there, for people here, anything that you have thought about to add to this description? Anything else that entered your thinking? It's a little bit like, you know, when a company decides on their vision statements and their mission statements, how hard they have to work at it over and over, crafting every word, thinking about every word. Yeah, I know. Yeah,
because when they want the desire is in the people, but when they need, sometimes is from outside the need.
It's an excellent point. It's an excellent point, and I actually struggled with that because I changed the verb. I had it last Wednesday, what do your student need? And I changed it for want. So I think that in that statement, we have both. So if we were to craft it some more, we would want to separate. You know, perhaps they want to perform, or do they need to perform? Maybe they need to perform, right? They would need to perform and complete a course, a diploma, but they would want to do it with ease. That's very good.
When the students want, is better than when they need.
Ah, yes, yes.
Yeah, because when you want something, you do everything just to get it. But when you need, then sometimes you need this. Something puts you to get it. Maybe the job or the school or the parents or something, but it's not inside, it's outside.
Very good. So that's need equals compliance. We have to comply. So basically in our job as online teachers, we want to leverage. We want to be very clear which part of our course can enter into the want and which parts can enter into the need. And sometimes we might want to tell them, again, you know, in that idea of state your intention from the start, we might want to say, you will need to do this, and you might want to choose this or that. So we're clear. And that helps with the boundaries. That's a very good point.
There's a comment on the chat from Leticia. She says, I thought about adding something like our students are humans who may feel negative affects, but they are very resilient. What I suggest is not to forget that fear, for example, is normal at a certain point.
Resiliency. That's a great idea. That would work. Anyone who takes on any sort of formal education is resilient. Is that what she means? We mean that? Do we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Resilience, to be strong enough to face negative effects or changes or no threats.
Strong enough. So that's how they view themselves. All of us. If we take on any new learning is a risk. Because remember, if we learn anything new, first of all, we admit that we didn't know before. So there is an element of vulnerability. I don't know about this. So when we admit that we don't know, then we're vulnerable, and learning new things is a risk. That's very good.
Okay. We have we are sharing now the Moodle.
Very good.
Do you want to move it or tell me?
Could I, because I can't see very well,
Yes.
could you pull out some of the things that make sense, or also from you?
Let me put my glasses too. ¿Sí pueden leer? For instance, learners online have to make sure of any source that leads him or her to understand how she or he can help themselves according to his or her age, cultural or economic level. They need support for the loneliness they face by a tutor and teacher online. They are enthusiastic when they have them, and they can get goals on their studies if they want.
Very nice.
For instance, Eric says, our online university students are generally people who want to learn and approve a subject or area with interest and commitment, with the purpose of finishing the course to obtain a university degree that allow them to get a job and obtain a better material life and wellness.
That covers quite a lot.
Adriana says, muchos de mis estudiantes en línea de bachillerato, am I too fast?
It's okay, I read that.
Eligieron esta modalidad porque en su comunidad no hay escuelas en este nivel. Otros porque no se acomodaron en el sistema presencial. Al principio les cuesta trabajo organizar sus tiempos, pero poco a poco lo van logrando. Aprecian la conversación por mensajes, les gusta contar acerca de sí mismos y de su entorno. Algunos de ellos, aun cuando son muy jóvenes, ya tienen hijos, por lo que además de estudiar, trabajan.
In this message, I'm hearing lifelong learners. I'm seeing that process. Yes. So probably something we would want to add to our definition, that they come from all parts, because I'm also hearing different parts, and they are lifelong learners.
Right.
And that's the objective of the university, correct? The lifelong learning?
I consider there is a great variety in our rooms, our virtual rooms. We have students that are very self-regulated, but there are some that have struggled with this, and they just want to hand in things at the last minute. There is people that just are focused on their online learning, while there are people with families and jobs that they have also to attend. But all of them have one common characteristic, is their desire for improving, for superation.
Do you think, I'm hearing this self-regulated here, And we've agreed that not all of our students are there autonomous, but we know that the online teaching and learning is designed for autonomous students. So do you think that from the student perspective that they want to be autonomous?
When the student is convinced about what he wants, then he can be auto-regulated very easy. But when they are not sure, is a hard way to get it. They can do, but it takes more time.
Hi, good morning. I am Guadalupe. I was following the video conference, and I'm thinking about like a video game when the player starts with a full life. So the student also start with a full life, with a full emotion, so enthusiastic with all the desire of do the things on the day they have to do, all perfect. So they like the game, no? They start to fight. They fight with the all day, the friends, the family, all the things that they have to do. So they start to lose. So that's where we have to impact, no? The point of the empathy to give them an extra life, no? an extra heart to feel. Yeah,
I love it.
Thank you.
We should make a game like this.
Yeah, when they have some problem, they feel sad, and this life goes down. So that it's the point we have to impact.
I love that. I love that.
I would like, I'm going to look at the chat, but meanwhile, I would say that when you ask, do all our students want to be autonomous or are autonomous? I would say that most of them, when they register to the program, they think they are autonomous. No? It's very easy to play with your mind and say, no, yes, I'm able of doing this. But at the end, when it comes to reality and to really make your schedules, to really be self-regulated, to self-assessment and planning and distributing your time and being honest about the available time that you have for study, then it's not that easy. So I think that many of them have to face this reality that they are not so autonomous as they thought they were.
They lose points.
And then they lose points and lives.
And lives. Mm. In English, we have an expression that often sums it up. The expression is when life happens. We have all these and perhaps we wouldn't take any course if we didn't have the illusion that we are invincible. I can do this. I can manage a full registration, 5 online programs, raise my family, and work full time. I don't know if you have that situation, but in my experience, we have many students who were not realistic about what it meant to sign up. And that's a difference between taking an empathetic approach and, as you said, giving them life back each time we have a chance to rebuild their sense of confidence, their resilience, their autonomous sense of themselves. That's a difference between doing that and then blaming them for making poor decisions. Because I see that a lot, is where we say, well, why did they take 5 courses if they have 2 children under 5 and they work full time and whatever, right? That's the whole difference. Why did they? They did for the reason you said, and the reason you said, and the reason we all do things sometimes that are not exactly well chosen, but still they demonstrate an immense amount of ambition, an immense desire to be wanting it, that the want is there. Lovely. Anything else?
I will stop sharing because I cannot see the chat from the other side.
Right, yeah.
So I wanted to see the comments from the people online. And yes, there are. It says, I agree with you, Mireille, about autonomy. I think that it's really difficult to develop the autonomy. Autogestivos, yes, self-management or self-regulated students, no? It would be the autogestivo, sería self-regulated. Yes.
And what better place than our online classes to work at it, to develop it? So perhaps what would be helpful for us is to understand that the level of autonomy of our students when they sign up online is actually what we're there to teach them. To be autonomous. Many don't arrive there autonomous. And autonomy is something we build our whole life. I'm building autonomy. There's no end to this. And what is autonomy? It's all the words we've said. We talked self-regulated, we talked self-reliance, self-confidence. It all relates to the self. Mm-hmm. So any empathetic approach that will help build myself back my whole life, it is helpful. Sometimes a non-empathetic approach will do the same. Like the professor who tells us, I bet you can't. Mm-hmm. And we set out to prove him wrong. Sometimes it's possible, and I wouldn't completely object to taking that approach in certain cases as a choice, because perhaps there are certain cases where a challenge, once you understand a little bit a challenge might be a good approach. However, we don't control how it will be received. So on the safer side, it's probably better. It's probably better to stay away from challenges or to keep it for our own children. Yes. Where we can correct. So back into our definition. So what I'm hearing, and one way we could adjust the wording a little bit, is when we say that they want to learn about a topic, from what I hear, is maybe they want to learn about their positioning in relation to the topic. So where am I? So that's a little bit more agile and flexible. If I position, you would be better at describing for me a whole program. But if I am the student and there's certain courses that I did not expect, that I'm not sure they are for me, either the course or even the whole program, it's what I want is to position myself in relation to this topic. Maybe that would be a more complete way.
Yes, there's one in the mural by Luis Miguel, but I think he's a high school teacher, not university school teacher. So he put the definition in this. Our online high school students consist of people who work, have a family, and still want to learn about a topic with ease and engagement, but many times with lack of the medium to fulfill their goals and perform a complete a course as part of a diploma that will allow them to enter a profession and access a better life.
So what he's saying is that at the time they sign up, they know the difficulties. They might not know some surprising courses or some aspect of what they learn, but they know ahead that it will be difficult. He mentioned the technology, right? That's what he means is to, and the family life.
The family life. The technology, no?
No, not
No.
Yes?
Ah, he doesn't mention the technology.
So what did you mean?
That means that sometimes the student gets very frustrated because they think things are gonna be like this or that, and the real life is very different. So they say, yes, I can do it. And they go in the real life world and they have children and they have a work and they have economical difficulties. Mm-hmm. For instance, I put in my profile student, this girl that she's housewife and has many difficulties with economy, and she needs to work and take care of the children, and they want to and she wants to study, but it's very difficult because some of our students even doesn't have a computer to access to the courses, so they have this lack of the medium to fulfill their goals. But there is something very interesting, because in these programs, online programs, we have a wide range of groups. There are people who has everything to fulfill their goals. They have all the resources, all the media, they don't have worries. And we have all these groups in rural agricultural communities. They don't have internet, they don't have computers, and they live different frustration from those people who has everything, and even with that resources, they have also frustrations. Mm-hmm. But there are differences, and we as teachers have to deal with these different channels of problems that arise in the courses, right?
Absolutely. Which makes it difficult to come up with a sentence or two sentences that will describe everyone. So when we do that, we're trying to look for the common factors in the variety of context. Right? This is, again, the broad perspective versus the narrowing it to you or you's context. So this is our challenge as academic, is to move everybody into one definition. Yes. But I think that what you said is when we try to do this, for sure, there is some ambition. The word ambition has to fit in there somewhere, because everyone, even when they know the obstacles ahead, still want to do it. Whenever we talk about real life, it always makes me wonder what we mean when we talk about real life, because I would argue that the single mom with the two kids at home knows very well about real life. And real life is all around us. If there is one thing we don't need to teach anybody, is real life. As a parent, I have thought about that often. And this is only me. This is not the result of studies. I just feel like life takes care of teaching what real life is. And my role is to teach resilience. That's my role as a parent, and to support and to help give life back. I'm going to use your example, just so you know. But I will get your full name so I can quote you properly. Yes, please.
Most of the online students and all students think that online education is easier than face-to-face modality at the beginning. Mm-hmm. And then Mayra, I need my glasses, says, I agree with our students' characteristics and the problem to find the space to work on the subjects, on online subjects. But sometimes the problem is the academic content. Some students have left school many years ago and they find really difficult to understand. How can we help them? How can we motivate them? For people that from a long period of time have stopped studying and they want to take again.
Well, some of the answers are going to be in our activities online. I saw some great suggestions of how to do exactly that to our fictitious students. We'll come to more of those strategies when we talk about our projects and what you all contributed to. But I think I would, unless there's more suggestions about our definition, I think that we're as close as we can be, unless this was our focus. If this was our focus, I would suggest a retreat. Again, Jackie, I'm big on retreats. I would suggest a retreat where we all discuss what is the statement definition of our online student that encompasses everybody. But at the moment, if I'm taking what we started with, considering, yeah, if
no, ¿podemos cambiar otra vez a su máquina, por favor?
Because I will rewrite it after and post it in our little group where it's at. But I would add, I would differentiate between want and need. I would clarify that. I would put the word ambition somewhere in there. I will also put the word resilience, the ambitious and resilience trait of our students. And I would probably add their positioning in relation to a topic to keep it wider. Because we realize that they don't necessarily all know what they want to learn about. And even if they do, we all position ourselves. We can study something for a long time and decide that that's not exactly what we want. And then we go on and we do another certification. Because I think one of the things that I keep reminding myself is that lifelong learning. Nothing is finished. And we'll talk about this, but I noticed some of the comments too, where we're saying, I wish we had some statistics so that we would know a little bit more the profile of our students. That would help with that, maybe. But it's not finished. So a statistic is like taking a picture of something as it is at the moment, but it keeps moving. So there is that thing to keep in mind whenever we're trying to define a profile, is that it's always in movement.
Yes, I would add for the people that is asking for statistics, I think that in the Swajet page, there's a part of the statistics of the profile of the online students, and also in the annual statistics that UNAM prints, and it's online also. And I would say that even though, as you mentioned, it's the picture of that moment, when you look at the pictures of different moments every year, then you get a taste or a better sense of how is it moving, which indicators are not moving. Perhaps, just perhaps, let me just say something that not necessarily is real, but perhaps the age is coming down on students, but they are still housewives with kids that have to work, no? So there's some things that might not be moving and some others that are, no?
Mm-hmm. I can see the value of that.
There's also one comment here. Let me put my glasses. I'd suggest to the word pro-social. I have noticed that in online education, people, or at least Latin American people, are keen to help the others. It is like this sense of helping the other to be pro-social. I think this characteristic is very important in this kind of education system.
Very good. Very good. And I saw that a lot in the way that the profiles were created. So now, if you agree with me, let's talk a little bit about the students that you created. So I'm happy to report that we have 20 students in our little group, 20 fictitious students, and they are very interesting because they have depth. There is enough information about them to make them interesting. So this is where I was telling you, if you haven't had a chance to go do that activity or consult the description, I encourage you to do so, because as you said, now we're having more than one sample. So we're starting to see trends, some factors that seem to be common in each one of them. And the age, I've noticed that you've created students that go from 16 years old to 54 years old. And so that they seem to reflect your reality. There is, what was I noticing? So there's a very good variety of fears. I'm happy to, I'm happy to report they're not just afraid of failing. Some are afraid of not measuring up. There is all sorts of fears. Some are even mentioning physical fear. Some are mentioning the fear of being in a wrong program. There is that.
I was going to tell Marco.
That's right.
Could we focus on her, please?
Yes.
Well, you're talking. Yeah. It's not me, the one who's talking.
He's got us both. We're good. We have a great variety of interest. We have the background of some of the students who are aspiring football stars. We have students who work in factories. We have artists. We have all sorts. We have single moms, parents, young parents. Quite a number of young parents. We have a nice variety of core values, many hard worker. You'll see many responsible, many talking about being honest, some mentioning being perfectionist. I find that interesting because I have a few of those. Many of you have chosen an avatar to highlight your profile. One participant even has an animated avatar, so it's worth having a look. The common factor is family. Many, I would say, I don't know the percentage, but many of you created students that are very much tied to their family. Probably. Oh yeah, probably. I would say this is cultural, because I can think, I haven't done this activity with North American, but I could think that it might not be as big. I'll report back. But for sure, so basically what we have to remember in that case is that any impact we have on one person will have impacts on their family. So, but you know that this is not new, but those, so like any good novel, we have 20 characters. So it's very, very interesting just to start with that. And as you've all said, they have a tone. If you read the description, there is a tone of hope and aspiration and ambition. All of your students that you've created are ready to go. So that activity is working well. Next, we have 17 trigger events. And any one of you online, don't hesitate to add a few if you want, because it's interesting. This is the real life thing. And that's the part, when you read all these trigger events in a row, if you go into the forum, your heart's going to start sinking. like a big a good novel, you're going to go, but how are they going to make it through? because because many family problems start to interfering. Now we have family problems, but we have money problems, and some are very specific. We're talking about money problems that stop someone from paying for the internet connection. We're talking about now health problems. We're talking about tragedy, grief. These you went for the big and the big triggers.
Not a wedding. we have to victimize ourselves.
Yes, I have a feeling. I have a feeling that if I presented this activity in another culture, maybe, oof. But I tell you, it's effective, because seriously, like once you read them, you go, but how are we going? How are they going to? Because you're attached to those 20 students. Just seeing, this is amazing, because this is the power of human connection, even online. Just reading a description of a fictitious character gives you some sort of connection with him. You want him to succeed, particularly because every one of you wrote an ambition. So when you describe your character, you wrote what his ambition is. And it's, I don't know, it's probably a part of our human trait. Or as teachers, we want them to fulfill the ambition. So some of you were a little lighter on the tragedy and talked about requests for clarity or plagiarism. And I found a very interesting one where there was an antagonistic situation where the student is blaming the teacher for not succeeding. I would think that in my culture, there would be a little bit more of that, those examples. So those trigger events are wonderful. And if you haven't contributed, or if you think of more, add more for the tragedy of it.
For the novel.
For the novel.
But the thing is that there are often these real situations. They do not come from imaginarium, you know? And the wonderful thing is that many of these students do make it out against all odds, you know?
With our support, which is with or without. With or without, but with is better. So empathetic answers. At the moment, we have 11 empathetic answers. And it doesn't matter how you presented your empathetic answer. It's a little tricky to take the role, because some of you in the trigger put a name to the person who had the trigger. So I wasn't sure if you were connecting to the 20 students or if it was your experience. And it doesn't matter which empathetic, which trigger you're selecting or presenting. That's the word I was looking, to who you're presenting an empathetic answer. The whole point of this is to practice it. Practice it. And this is what I saw. These are the things I saw in your answers. I saw validation. Yes. Remember, if we can just validate what the other person is experiencing, we've already done a huge step in order to connect with that person. I saw a lot of suggestions. I saw a lot of warmth. I saw a lot of responses that were focused on a student. I saw open questions. I really like this one, and you'll see some that you like. You'll see. That's the whole point too. Is when you look at some, you'll say, "Oh, I like it. If I was receiving that answer, I'd like to hear that." And this is one I really liked. Have you discussed this with your family? I like that one, particularly if we start from the context that they are very connected with their family. Did they talk about it with them? I like, I'm here to listen to you. I saw that in Prince. I saw suggestions about collaboration. So basically the person who took the role of the teacher did not propose a suggestion, but said, find someone who can help you. I saw that a few times. I saw an attempt to rephrase the context. So I saw, let's call that the professor's answer to the event, who said, this is what I understand of your context, before suggesting something. I also saw a mention of the rewards, like to remind you, me, everyone, like, don't forget, on the other side of this, there will be the reward of completing this. I saw, so that's like highlighting the result in the future. And also, remember, if we want our students to stop wanting the seal or passing the course, let's also use that in our words. Instead of telling them your rewards is that you're going to pass the course. How about you will feel so good once you understand all these concepts and pass the course. Right?
Something we want to say. Pass the day in one place.
Pass the course today and learn about it later. I don't know, that sounds like the hard life again. If you didn't choose to learn it during this course, sooner or later you'll have to learn it. I also saw the I saw something that I found very interesting, where someone was very clear that clarity about distinguishing what's academic, what's personal. That was very nice, I thought, because that professor says, I understand that your personal struggles are interfering with your academic performance. That was one way to give perspective, even from the students, so that, because when we're in crisis, we have a hard time differentiating, like we have a hard time with clarity. So we think we're no good because we can't handle the problems around us, including academic, financial, family. So when we have help distinguishing, this is a family issue, this is your academic issue. It's normal that they affect one another. Let's talk about the academic. That's also one way to direct the conversation. And I love this one. Like this I knew. Everyone knew about the difference between empathy and sympathy, because I read several times, I don't pretend to know how you feel. So that was, you'll see that when you'll see also people using clear boundaries. And again, not one email response will have all of these, but when we have the wonderful opportunity of being so many of us creating those, all of it appears. One of those was clear boundaries, and you'll recognize it. It was about grief, tragedy, and that person said, go do what you need to do according to your custom and reconnect with me in X number of days. So now we're creating a clear boundaries, and we're honoring what the person, go do what you need to do. That was priceless. I'll quote you too. Anything that came up?
No, there was this about the tragedies that they are for real, many of them. And you mentioned on Wednesday about these support services that sometimes as teachers it's good to be aware of in order to direct our students. So Magdalena is telling that there's a repository, a directory
Yes.
with institutions that support students. No? And I have a question for the people that is online, because Violeta is mentioning that she's having trouble with the audio, that is becoming a little bit cortado, slow. But yes, that's what I wanted to know, if everyone has the same problem or is it just Violeta. Leticia says that there's no problem. And also Alejandra Rojas says that she can listen very well. So I think it is your internet connection, Violeta. Okay, thank you. Now you can go ahead.
So as we were saying, so these are the impression I got from reading the empathetic answer. And now I can feel better about every one of those fictitious students. That's why I was late this morning.
Yes.
I had to read how the stories was going to go from there. So as simple as it is, I am sure you saw the level of complexity as well. And I'll just take a minute here to go over some of those concepts, just to wrap up that part of the hands-on, the actual concrete using of empathy in our communication. So again, remember, empathy needs validation, empathy needs tolerance for failure, and it needs boundaries. Empathy is connection. It's about being more interested in our student than its output. It's almost like, you know, a farmer who's more interested in a rich soil, knowing that the rich soil will grow the best food. The more we're interested in our students, the more the output should come back out of it. Remember that empathy is a skill. It's something that we can develop with practice. Our written response to situation is a wonderful opportunity. It's a great place to practice our skill. It's a little easier to craft a response than to react sometimes in person. But the more we develop the skill with the time and the space to write it, the more likely we are to use it in face-to-face too. Remember, empathy is a perspective taking. It's a deliberate process. This is how we do empathy. Listen, 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 and ask questions. Empathy is to be observant, watch, wonder. Empathy is curiosity. I wonder what happens there. Slowing down. It's about opening up, mutual understanding. Empathy is the opposite of the academic armor. It's a mutual understanding. What do we have in common? It's about understanding and fostering connections. If any of you are good gardeners, you know that every time we water our plant, I'm not a good gardener, I'm thinking of my husband. Each time he waters our plants, he's adding a little bit of the fuel that it needs. That's what empathy does. Fostering it. One way also that I didn't use in the example of practical, when we talk about highlighting the context, you could state, this is what I came up, this is my suggestion based of my understanding. What is your perspective? That's an open question. That's an example I hadn't pointed out before. And remember that if we use ourselves as a starting point or an anchor to understand somebody, it's a good start. However, we're likely to fall short, not go adjust quite right to someone else. We cannot know what someone else is experiencing. When we look for perspective, we're actively doing problem solving. It's the question about what can I do to be helpful. The minute we think like that, we're being empathetic. And the minute we're trying to be helpful, we're being empathetic, and we're also building trust. Because when we're creating trust, we're looking out for each other. And the example of the Mac tablet will stay with me, because that's a wonderful example of being helpful and showing what empathy is in the concrete, looking for solutions. And remember that rarely can an answer make something better. No matter what our answer is to the grief, it will not make the grief better. It's the connection with the person that will make the answer better. So this was what I wanted to go back on the project. No, this is good. So these are some of the wrapping up words or statements that I wanted to bring to your attention. Is there anything else? Because I'm going to move on to another topic. So is there anything else you'd like to add in response to the project itself of the concrete? Did you like it? Yeah? Yeah?
Did you enjoy it?
Was it hard? In a different way, right? Did it take a lot of time? It shouldn't, no. Did you still think about it afterwards? Yes? Did you talk with anyone about it? Well, I'll give you something to talk about. Just wait. We're going to talk about it.
Does anyone online wants to talk about the project? How did you feel it? How was it hard? Did you enjoy it?
If you wouldn't mind, those online, to actually write down, was it hard? Did you talk to other people about it? Did you enjoy it? Did it take a lot of time? Just a way to measure a little bit. My intention was that it wouldn't take too much of your time, but that it would be a deep experience, and that hopefully you'd want to discuss this. And in fact, you might not have had the need to discuss it outside of our group, because we discussed it a lot within the group.
They say that is a very enriching experience.
The project.
The project, and Frida now has to leave, but the whole experience has been very enriching. And Magdalena says that the project was very enriching as well.
Good. Good. So 10:22, perfect. Perfect.
I do wonder, how did you become interested in empathy?
Because it's for people to listen on the recording, but okay, you already finished yours. It was a short question.
I'm going to give you the silly answer, because it's kind of funny, and then the deep answer. I became interested in empathy by accident. I was asked to talk about one topic about what it was like to teach online at a conference, and I had a feeling that everybody else would take the good topics. You know, the kind of the easy one that you'd expect, you know, about forums and about assignments and about feedback and all that stuff and technology and connecting. And I thought, like, I was going to be the sixth one to talk. So I thought, by the time it's my turn, they will have to, I'll be repeating what they're saying. And and I started to, so I decided to talk about more the emotional aspect of learning and teaching online. And then I just became older. And I started to realize that my role is becoming more and more about being empathetic. I just kind of decided, like in my age, like I've raised my children, there's something about focusing on the realness of raising children that was behind me. So what do I care about? And it became more and more like, I care about communicating with people within my work. So that's pretty much it. Yeah. And then I learned that empathy is sexy.
How come?
Search empathy online, you won't believe it. Right now, everybody's talking about it. And this will be my next topic, actually. I'm not kidding. Empathy is sexy. It's a perfect time to talk about it. You know that?
Yes. They are already asking. Well, they say sexy, wow. But
Don't tell them don't leave.
they are already asking for those materials of sexy.
Of sexy.
No, they are already asking for this workshop to continue.
Yeah, me too.
Leticia mentioned that the project was at a certain point stressful because she thought that she had to give a solution to the student. But then she got down thinking, well, I just have to be empathetic. It's not that I have to have this solution, but to really make him feel comfortable. Mirna says that it was kind of hard, but that it was worth it. Violeta is interested in the sexy thing.
Just wait.
Yeah. And Magdalena is mentioning that it should be a follow-up after this workshop.
Very good. Very good. I think actually I know where we could take this, but I want to hear it from you. So we're going to talk about now what? That will be the next stage. And that's also where I'm going to tell you a little bit about that sexy aspect of empathy. So oh yeah, one thing I wanted was to check online if anyone had voted, because one of the things I wanted to do was reflect on the project, and the next thing I gave you the chance to vote if there was one topic that was of more of interest, and then we'll talk about now what. So I had one answer, one response to the voting, and it was about online identity.
This one, let me see. Yes. Okay, so you tell me where to go.
Right, it's the survey on day 3.
On day 3, okay.
Yeah, this morning there was only one answer, and it's the declarative, digital declaration of identity.
I think I cannot.
It's not opening.
It's not opening.
Too many things going.
Yes, I think it's because.
Was there any other topic from all of the list that you? Are you on the website? No?
I will get in that page outside this sharing screen, and then I will go back.
Yeah. I just want to know if people have voted on other topics before we move on.
No, I cannot. Maybe because it has been a lot of time since we opened the Moodle.
Yeah.
Could that be?
Possibly. Perhaps we could just go the old-fashioned, and if there is another topic, just let us know. And I was asking Larissa if you could tell us just a little bit more about the declarative the digital identity?
Well, it was not as a declarative. Well, yes, we some years ago we made a research about the identity sense that our online students had, you know, and how to think about strategies for helping them to feel more this sense of belonging to the university, and in that sense also to motivate them and not to abandon their studies. So it was very interesting because when you start looking at identity itself, is not just one thing. It has to do with several things. It has to do with a sense of belonging, a sense of I don't know how to say this in English, territorialidad.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Physical.
Yes,
Territory.
which is your territory, no? And how to identify the territory, where is it that you're moving? Mm-hmm. Yes, and it also has to do with your own achievements, no? And how is it that you're gathering your achievements in that context? So at the end, well, many things happened. We saw that our students had a lot of, they were they were strongly identified with UNAM. And in a contest that we made, and I was trying to look to find those pictures, or videos that we asked them to show us how is it that they were studying, which was their favorite place to study. And they all had, or most of them, at least, they sent us this little space in which it was full with UNAM. No, how do you say it? Escudo? Yes, escudo, like this. The crest. The crest.
The crest.
Yes, blue and golden. Yes. Yeah, but they had, and in this sense, they had the space where the computer is full with if they are studying psychology, then the psychology also crest, or if they are from vet, and with the puma, no, the cougar there, and all of these symbols to have their own little UNAM at their place. And that is one sense, they were very happy and they were very proud of themselves to have achieved entering UNAM. No? That, in that sense, they were very highly motivated. But then there were certain things that diminish this sense. For instance, not having the same access to scholarships, to certain services that students in campus have, library, languages, and many of the students, well, not many, every student has to accomplish a social service. And these students that are finishing their studies online, they have dedicated 4 years to their online program, but they cannot find how to accomplish this special requisite. Is very frustrating. You know? So we were working on these kind of programs and things to do in order to build a stronger community. So that's why some of the contests were made, and to have them being integrated. We made an exhibition with pictures, and it was an itinerary exhibition, so it went to different faculties and schools and to have those pictures shown. And also for our people, our students in the campus, to be aware of their online community. No? So that was one of the things. We also manage social services online for our students. We still have it. We have students that work online with us, and then we liberate, not we liberate, we give them the credits that they need for this social service, and some scholarships also. So it's, we work with the language center in order to have a MOOC for English comprehension in order to help our students to go with that other requisite that they need to accomplish a comprehensive test on another language. Most of them choose English. So we made a MOOC with that. So in order to build a stronger community and not just to have the sense of I belong to UNAM because I have a credential of UNAM, but because I get a lot of many things, not only a degree. No?
This is a fantastic addition to our conversation, because this is where we move a little away from just our own course or our own student, and we're looking more from the institution perspective to nurture, foster a sense of belonging after researching your student. That's the fantastic part, because we could do it wrong if we don't try to understand what it is that motivate them and where are the gap possibly, and where we can access be more efficient. Right, very good. All right, so the time is,
it's 10:35.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. Okay, so we've done that part. Now, we said that the true test of empathy comes during hard times, and we talked about a civic conversation about difficult topic. I would like to bring to you a difficult topic. Are you ready? Maybe it's not the best way to end. Yes, sure it is. It's about now, the discussion will end is about what to take it further. Where now? What do we do next? So there is an author. His name is Arthur C. Clarke. He's a science fiction author, you know? Yes. He wrote, "Any teacher that can be replaced by a machine should." What do you think of that? You agree? Yes.
I do too.
You do too? Okay. All right. So we agree with this. So basically we agree that there exists teaching machine. What is our role now?
I would say that is exactly this empathy, this communication, this bond between the student and the teacher, having the right experience, the right guidance for each student. No, for each student needs. So I would say that is the computer help us a lot, and you can actually do a lot of things with the computer, and it will help students and teachers as well. But what is it that you would have to ask yourself, what is it that me as a teacher is doing that cannot be replaced?
One big difference is to feel the emotion, to understand the student, not in the academic way, but in the emotional way. And when you understand the student, then you can connect with him. And the machine is not able to do that. The machine only are the numbers or reading, but there is not the emotion and the motivation is not there. And this is the difference for a teacher instead of the machine.
Oh, we have.
The machine, the computer, gives everyone any topic in general with patterns. But the people, the teachers, we behind something, any machine, we are personalizing, we are trying to understand the student and see what really needs and what is the most important for him or her, because we have a great variety of students. We have students very good at mathematics, others in physics, others in biology. And if I am a mathematician teacher, I really don't like that every of my students are very good at math, but I have to take more time with those who have troubles with math. I have to see the level I can reach with them. And I don't want to push them so hard to make them fail. I'll push as soft or as hard as they can do it with the topic. That's it. And the machine just have patterns. They don't analyze, they don't personalize, they don't feel anything about the students. That's it.
Patterns is not exactly the foundation for empathy. Right? But what you've described is using technology at the service of pedagogy.
Okay, this is a very passionate point, because according to the last World Economic Forum, emotional intelligence is nowadays more important for personal development and even industrial development. That's one interesting point, because it has everything to do with empathy. But there is another reason. We are now in the fourth industrial revolution. So that means that knowledge is growing in an exponential way. So teacher who was in ancient times the center of information now is being displaced, and you can find everything in computer, in Google, in Amazon, wherever you want. So you can handle all this information to still being the center of the information for your students. So you have to be more like a guide. You have to be like, how do you say, a faro? Un faro? A lighthouse for your students, and guide them to say, this information is good for your purposes, and this information is not good, or is fake, or is doubtless. I think the role of teacher nowadays in this context is, for one side, to be a lighthouse, and for the other side to be empathic, to develop personal growing in your students. So that is something that a machine cannot do, to be empathic with the other, and be empathic also in a cognitive way. I know your interest, and you can find it interesting if you read this
or see this video, or listen this song, as the song you put. No, because you share something with the other human that a machine cannot do. But information, no, because information is everywhere nowadays. So I think this is the role of teacher nowadays.
I couldn't have said it better, everything that you have said. And how about we're no longer teachers? How about we're leaders? Yes.
I was just going to add that maybe it is about the interaction. You can change that. I mean, the dialogue that we have had in these past days, in this workshop, has been enriching for all of us. And I think when you talk with someone and when you get to know about their tragic lives, or maybe their experience, or what they think, what they like, you're never the same after that. So I think you can change that. That's why you can change the teacher or the student. I mean, teaching exists because, and students do exist because we still need that interaction. We can just say, oh, okay, I'll program this this machine to do this certain thing. We need a thinking person to do this.
Mm-hmm. This is brilliant because it's almost as if our teaching programs, universities, are the outside shell. But what's happening is inside is all of these impactful. We're never the same after.
We just love bots. And yes, and we're trying to integrate them in our courses. They are colleagues, and they help us to be more empathetic because they give us time. The bot can answer all the boring questions. You know? How do I download this PDF, or where is this information? And they describe things in many ways, in different ways. You know? So students have different answers and different opportunities to learn. So we are trying to see them as colleagues and rely on them to be there 24/7, for instance, and just help us with these simple questions, and then have more time to be empathetic and to go deep with knowledge.
Wonderful.
Yes, I would add with, to what just they have said. The computer will help us with many things, you know, in this sense, in order to even gather information, because it's a lot of information in the servers or in internet that we cannot actually get a look at all of it. But then our role is to go deepen with our students, to build relationships, to also be there when they need the support. And it's not always just academic support. It's, as we have seen, it's also an emotional support. So yes, I think, as Jackie said, the computers and the bots, they are our colleagues. And we have to find a way how to make a good relationship with them in order to support better our students.
And when we use empathy, remember, we have the clarity of thinking, and we are more able to adapt the right answer to the right problem. This is why it's so sexy, because it adapts to every situation. It's only a word for something that we've known about: efficient anything, efficient teaching, efficient building. So it's about the right answer for the right problem. But the thing is, do we always have the right problem? Have we identified the right problem? So if one of our students is not committing to the work, we might, if we're not empathetic, assume a laziness or any other, when the right problem might be hidden or in a different area. This is wonderful. This is wonderful. And indeed, what I had written here is that robots, technology, won't render us obsolete. Instead, they will make our human skills more relevant than ever. Exactly. Now, the part, I am mindful of time. I think, yeah, 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Is there more? There must be more.
Yes, there are many comments here. Sin duda, hay que conformar ambientes empáticos en la educación media superior. La educación media superior nos ofrece muchos retos a los asesores en línea. Mariana comenta, la parte humana que una maestra puede aportar hoy es más necesaria que nunca por las máquinas. El alumno debe sentir vivamente esa humanidad en el docente de acompañar su proceso de aprendizaje. Muchas gracias por el curso a Mireille, a Larisa y a todo el equipo organizador. Me uno al agradecimiento a los organizadores y participar en esa experiencia. La última participación del profesor, me gustó mucho que haya dicho la palabra compartir. Creo que es muy importante pensar en la educación en línea como una actividad de compartir. Gracias, Mireille, por los ejemplos concretos, por el contenido de los materiales, por la entrega, la dedicación y el entusiasmo de cada sesión. Es mi primera experiencia como participante en un taller con estas características. Ver a los participantes en la sala de la CUAED, acompañarlos a distancia y coincidir en las ideas es como reflexionar acerca de los aspectos abordados, así como reflexionar de los aspectos abordados es muy enriquecedor. Gracias por el cuidado y la atención en la plataforma. That you're a great model to follow.
Oh boy. Okay. It'll make me go up one notch even. So just to wrap up about the world being interested in empathy, I use the word sexy just to catch your attention, but you will notice it worked. Yes. You will notice that there is way more talk about empathy in the corporate world. So one that I will never forget in my whole life is I came across a company, it's called Corgi Bytes. What they do is they're specialized in software. So they upgrade and modernize software programs for users. So they are IT, they're engineers, software engineers. And the owners of this company in the States, the co-owner is a woman called Andrea Goulet. And she wrote an article that says how she wrote about coding is a form of communication. She wrote, communication is rooted in empathy, how engineering can tap into this critical skill. So this woman, within the context of coding programs, very much IT, she uses the empathy as the foundation of being efficient. So that's what I mean about it. It exists so much into the conversation of corporation, how to be more efficient. Do you have something?
No, I was going to tell Marco, Marco, si podrías poner la lámina, porfa.
So this is one example of the corporate world being aware of it. So in effect, your students are going to enter that corporate world that is becoming more sensitive to that. So as we prepare them for that, we're doing them a favor. Another example that has to do with the corporate world, which has an impact on me, is again in the United States. It's a collection agency. Collection agencies, their function, as you know, is to collect poor payers. So they're hired to go get money from people who are faulting in their payments. Could you imagine empathy in that context? Right, exactly. This woman, it's called a Hardbridge Collection Agency. Her name is Christina. She said there has to be a better way to collect money from people. And she decided that her company and her team, they were going to use empathy in their work. So what they do is they have a kindness focused approach. So she says to her team, this is an important work. every day you have to pick up the phone and hear people tell people that they must pay. But there's a way to do it. And we're going to do it the kindest way because it's important. And we're going to use empathy. So she instead of forcing compliance, which we talked about earlier, you must, she built a trust and a relationship. So her staff are trained to say, tell me what's happening. And the more that they listen to the person's tragedy or distress, the more they build a relationship. And the more they get to a place where that person wants to. Because we have to. In the end, everyone knows it. But instead of resisting and being shamed and being made to feel small, the person at the other end says, I'm here to listen to you. And from that point, they get more the truth. Tell me about your situation. And apparently this company, they give bonus based on how many thank you letters the agent receive or wedding invitation. Okay, can you imagine, like for a second, let's take a minute to imagine that you're in a position, now let's put ourselves in someone who owes money to a number of creditors who have asked a collection agency to harass you for payment, right? To get a commitment out of you. And in the end, you felt so understood with that person, you paid because her result is that she gets 32.2% of the money collected compared to 9.9% in the industry. She performs. The money comes in. But in the end, you feel so listened to and heard by the collection agent that you send a thank you note. So those are examples that from now what happens is maybe efficiencies in the corporate world. Is there any more comments?
Well, the comments are here. Yes, there are comments about the challenging task that we have ahead. That it says, gracias Mireille por modelar ejemplos concretos, por el contenido de los materiales y por la entrega, dedicación. I read that one. Let me just, we will have they asked me if there will be access to the platform for the following week. Yes, it will. The course, the workshop will be, all the content will be available for the whole next week. So yes, feel free to enter and to put on comments. You can add comments. Mireille wants you to add comments, so there is no problem with it. And yes, empathy es una pequeña palabra con un gran significado. Thank you, Mireille, and all the colleagues. We have a lot of work to do but we are in this together. Yes, it is a challenging task. And thank you for the team that made this workshop possible. It is correct, we are together facing the challenges, acquiring tools to develop the skills mentioned.
Good. Very good. One question when you asked me what interested me in empathy, there is another thing I'd like to share with you, because the reason why I traveled so far to talk about this topic, I would like to tell you that because it's the first time that I'm actually presenting it this way, other than like an hour or 15 minutes talk on this. This is the first time that I put kind of the energy of putting it together. And I was prepared to take a risk, but I wanted to do it in the best possible environment because I wanted the most fertile soil for my tree to grow a little bit. And I had met, like I told you, Larissa and Fernando once, and I had that feeling that there was something really special in UNAM, and I was not wrong. I could have gone anywhere in the world. Not that they would have accepted me necessarily, but I could have tried. But this here was what is very special. You probably don't realize it, but you have what the corporate world call you have a growth mindset. This is the highest compliment in a corporate world, because you're always looking at improving yourself, and what you have here has a lot of impact on your students. But for me, it was the best place that I could imagine to come and share my interest, particularly at the beginning, kind of taking the risk of whether people were interested and receptive. So my life will not be the same after this week because of you. Your stories were a privilege to hear and to read about, and the impact that you'll have on me is going to be for the rest of my life. So you were my teachers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mireille. Pues gracias a todos, gracias a Mireille que vino, muy entusiasta, con muchas ganas de compartir, so sharing, so enthusiastic and excited to be here with us, and we made it possible. And I hope that this is just the first time. We will be managing a comeback, and we had talked about doing online workshops. Maybe Mireille cannot come all the times, but we can still work online. Fortunately, we have this technology and it is possible to do it. So we will be planning something. Don't worry, we will let you know. And I just want to thank Mireille for her time and for her experience and for her knowledge. And I want to thank all of you, because also your time, your patience, and your commitment with this workshop. So we really hope to be in touch and to be close to you. Thank you.
We do this well. The time.
Yes, we did it perfectly.
Yeah. All 3 days.
On Monday, on Wednesday, and on Friday, I have to be there. Perfect. I'm glad. So, enjoy the summer.
Yes.
Oh, that's so cool.